Okay, welcome to our first lesson on curved graphs. First of a series. There should be a couple in this series. I love curved graphs, and there's a lot of different ways that they can ask this in your IG exam. So we're gonna look at everything, but we're gonna start off slow just to kind of learn how to draw a curved graph, and then we're gonna go later into, all the different methods of them asking it. But let's start off with what you know. Maybe, not maybe, hopefully by now you should know how to draw a straight line. So let's say there was something like y is x plus 1, and you would have done a little spider diagram. This y as x plus 1 could have been written like in function notation, like the f of x is x plus 1. So this y and this f of x, it's kind of just the same thing. It's telling us there's a function. And for this function, there would be certain inputs and there would be certain outputs. And you could have done a the table method, maybe choosing some values like 1 0 -1, or you would have, for the spider diagram, you could have done 1 0 -1, and you would input that into this function. So 1 plus 1 is 2, and that would have been 1, and that would have been 0. Or in the table method, it would have been, well, it's just like the same thing. Okay. So once we've had these kind of inputs and outputs, like the x would have been the input and y would have been the output, then we would get these coordinates, and on a Cartesian plane, we would draw them like 1, 2 might have been there, and 0, 1 is maybe here, and 0, -1 is there, and then that would be a straight line. So there would be an unlimited amount of inputs, and if we put in all those inputs and got all those outputs, it would make millions of little dots and millions of little coordinates, and eventually if we put them all together, they form what we call this straight line. And something to know about this is called a linear function. The degree of this function is 1. What does that mean? It means of these x variables, the highest index is 1. Now with curved graphs, we're going to see there's a bit of a change. So let me just write one down here. So with a curved graph, we're going to see something different. Maybe x squared plus 2x plus 3. So this is an example of a curved graph. Now the degree of this function is 2 because there's a 2 there. And we're going to see when we draw this, it doesn't form this straight line that we see with a linear function. This is actually going to form a parabola, this kind of symmetrical shape that goes down and up. And we're going to see there's different types. If you get them like this, or they might be a bit of a sad face, upside down, or bending up. So those are the two different types of parabolas. Now, you should notice this by now. You should have done a lot of stuff with these trinomials. Now, no one told you till now, or maybe you did know this, but usually we don't tell you that these things we're going to draw eventually. We kind of just start off and say, hey, we'll factorize a bit, and you learn how to factorize. And you're not really sure why you're learning why to factorize, but you are factorizing. And then you're like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. Two numbers that multiply to this and add to this. And you get your little thing going. Okay, x, and that should be a 1 and a 3. And, oh, okay, this one's not going to work. Let's just do this, make my life easier. And then I'm like, okay, that would work. So if I multiply these things out, I'm going to get there, like minus x plus 3. Okay, great. That's going to work. So you did a lot of factorizing with this. You would have done completing the square with this as well, and even the quadratic formula. But what you don't know is why. Why did we actually go through all of the trouble trying to find these x values? And that's what we're going to look at in this whole chapter. So just a kind of a broad sense of what we're looking at. Just some basic tips and tricks before we go into the details. With a linear function like this, when the degree of the function is 1, we usually only have one answer. So for this 1, I put it in, and I only got this 2 as my answer. With a quadratic equation like this, I can sometimes actually get 2 answers. So for example, just a quick one, you would have known if I said x squared is equal to 9, traditionally you'll say, yes, x is 3. But x can also be -3, because both of these would square to 9. But what I'm trying to say is when we have this quadratic function where we have the degree of the function being 2, we can get 2 answers. Sometimes we get 1, sometimes we get nothing, but the maximum amount of answers is 2, and the shapes they turn out to be is like this. And then later we'll go into cubic functions, and you can think of what that looks like. So a cubic function can be something as simple as this, or it can become a little bit more tricky like this and adding some x's, I don't know. But the degree of this function is 3. It's it's no longer a parabola. It's not a straight line, it's not a parabola, it's actually this curve, and they can even look something like this, or they can go like the other way. Let's draw it like the other way around. If they're negative, they like go down towards the end, and we'll look at all this. You don't have to know this yet. All I'm saying is, when we have a function that's to the 3rd degree, it's going to bend twice. It doesn't always do this extreme bend. Sometimes it's just like a little kink like this, and it doesn't really have this really extravagant maximum point and minimum point. Sometimes it's just a little kink like this. But this is kind of what this whole chapter is about. We're going to use all the knowledge you have about factorization and completing the square and the quadratic formula, and we're going to use that to draw these. Well, you know them only as trinomials now because you would have seen them when you get them first. When we start doing factorization, we kind of do this, or we just show them just like that. They're kind of shown like this, and you're like, oh, okay, factorize this, and then you go through all those little motions. So in this video, just an introduction, is you should know that you get different types of functions. They are sometimes linear, which would be straight lines. They can be quadratic, so they're going to fall parabolas, and sometimes they're cubic, and they have these curves. We also have some reciprocal ones. So that is when I don't want to go into too much, but there is just like a background. Hey, by the way, this can also happen if I have something like this. And these, actually, they form a little bit of a different type of graph. It's a bit strange because they kind of do this and this. It's like you can't think like, wow, why is there suddenly 2 lines? But once you draw them with the table method, it's clear that they kind of form this shape. So there's a lot of different ones. When it comes down, kind of they all work in the same way. So in the next video, we're going to start off with these quadratic functions, and then see, once we are given one, how to actually draw it.